Good evening. Thank you. Come to order at 7 p.m. At this point, I'll take a vote to seal the minutes of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Take votes?
No votes taken.
There were no votes taken in executive session. Next item on the agenda is recognitions. Tonight, we're going to recognize our SRO officers, student resource officers. If I mispronounce the name, I apologize in advance. Mr. McCaffrey, you can read the names.
Mr. Chair, members of the school committee, today we have some distinguished guests with us this evening. We have Colonel Brad Connors, and we have Captain Hart here to recognize our school resource officers. Our school resource officers are sworn police officers that have been trained to be law enforcement professionals that have chosen to work in a school environment as a school resource officer. They're seen as mentors, role models, teachers, advocates, and law enforcement officers. They're a vital part of all our schools. We have SROs in our secondary schools, and they also work in all the feeder schools within our district. I've had the opportunity to watch the SRO program since its inception back in 2006, and I've seen it blossom, and it makes a difference. The SROs are part of the community. They know what's happening in the community. We share information at schools and law enforcement offices, and we make decisions in the best interest of the students, and it makes for a better community. I'm happy to be here to recognize our distinguished school resource officers. You want to hold the certificates? Sure. Okay. One thing I would like to say is the supervisor of the SRO department is Sergeant Moretti. Sergeant Moretti dreads my call. We talk often. It could be 5 o'clock in the morning. It could be 11 o'clock in the evening. He's always there 24/7 for the schools and for the city. He's dedicated, as all his officers that work with him. Colonel, he's a credit to the Warwick Police Department, and I'm proud to have worked with him over the last several years. I'd ask Sergeant Moretti to come forward to be recognized. Sure. Now, the next SRO that I'd like to recognize is Officer Guyton. Officer Guyton, when you see him standing out in front of Warwick veterans, very impressive. If I were a student back in the day, I wouldn't do anything wrong. I would toe the line and do everything he told me to do. But once you see him interact with students, he does an excellent job. He can deal with the most challenging students, refocus them, and get them back on track. Thank you, Officer Guyton, for all you do for Warwick schools.
Thank you very much.
Officer Payne is at the top of the hill at Tollgate. He works with the Tollgate School, Windman School, and the feeder schools to Windman. Officer Payne, nothing gets by him. He has more information that he picks up throughout the school day than anyone in the building. If you need to know anything, you go see Officer Payne at Tollgate High School. He knows exactly what's going on, and he does a great job at Tollgate. Congratulations. Officer Morano is the veteran, I believe. He's been around the longest as the SROs. He's forgotten more than a lot of people know. One unique aspect about Officer Al Morano is he's a baseball guy. So if you want to know anything about baseball, you talk to Officer Al and he can tell you. He can tell you all the good players in the city, all the good players at the in the National Baseball League. If you want to know anything about baseball, he's your guy. Does a fantastic job for Pilgrim. Pilgrim has one of our larger enrollments over the last few years. He knows every inch of the place. He knows the students, He walks down the hallway, everyone says, "Hey, Officer Al," he knows their names, he knows what's going on. Thank you, Officer Al, for everything you do for Pilgrim. You've made it a better place.
Thank you.
Finally, I would like to recognize Officer Rose Michelle. Rose Michelle was at the Warwick Veterans over the past few years. Officer Michelle, once again, knew the community, knew the kids, very supportive of kids, was a great mentor to many of the students here at Warwick Veterans. And the last would be James Weibel. James Weibel was at Tollgate, then he was at Windman Middle School. Officer Weibel was always out and about, always around the building. You could be walking around Tollgate campus and he would pop out of the woods. He knew every inch of the Tollgate campus, and he was definitely alert of everything happening on that campus. I would like to take a moment to thank Colonel Connors, Captain Hott. You've always been there whenever we needed you. I would share that we had a serious incident this past year, and we were on a Zoom call. I think it was 11 o'clock at night. The colonel was still going at it. Captain, you were involved, and I appreciate your commitment to Warwick and to the schools and to the community. Thank you very much. Let me not forget retired Officer Majacomo for all he does for the school resource officers.
At Oakland Beach. Patricia Canning, teacher assistant, grade 2 to 3 at Oakland Beach. Molly Began, teacher assistant, K to 1 IASE at Oakland Beach. Jamie Kilday, teacher assistant, grade 6 IASE at Veterans. And Joe Renzi, elementary principal at Weinman.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. We wish them all well in their future endeavors. And with that, I happily welcome another group of quality applicants that have come before us. The interview committees have been rigorous, and we're really happy to have these people on board. So first, we have Elena Moran, a librarian at Robertson and Lippett. Pamela Rojas, art teacher at Wyman Park and Greenwood. Amy Wilcox, art teacher at Warwick Veterans. Kristen Mayman, school nurse teacher at Pilgrim. Kaylee Lemieux, elementary special educator, grade 5 co-taught at Holloman. Kerry Daly, elementary special educator, grade K to 1 IASE at Oakland Beach. Kaylin Emerson, elementary special educator, grade 4 to 5 IASE at Park. Nicole Kraus, elementary special educator, grade 2 co-taught at Norwood. Cassie Barbara Conoyer, English teacher at Winman. Gabrielle Tretton, English teacher at Veterans. Jacqueline Ferrara, English teacher at Winman. Georgia Testa, English teacher at Tollgate. Daniel Pietrantonio, math teacher at Pilgrim. David Silvestri, math teacher at Pilgrim. Marcia Wicker, science teacher at Winman. Catherine Costantino, science teacher at Winman. Emma Gaskell, science teacher at Winman. Melissa Kazarian, school psychologist at Warwick Neck and Park. Jennifer Putz, school psychologist at Lippert and Robertson. Jennifer Marinelli, kindergarten teacher at Greenwood. Caitlin Martino, integrated pre-K at Welk. The next person on the list that you have in your packets has declined the offer, so I'm not reading her name. Shannon Haran, tech ed teacher at Tollgate. Mark Souza, category 1 phys ed teacher at Greenwood. Catherine Lucas, .5 English teacher, category 1 at Tollgate. Kennetha Gouveia, business teacher at Vets. And Brian Anger, night custodian at Greenwood. So again, we welcome everyone and wish them well with their careers with Warwick Schools.
Thank you. Anybody here? Are people here? I see one person here. Anyone else who's new? Okay. Thank you. Congratulations.
And with that, I turn it over to Superintendent Danbrook to introduce our new administrators.
Thank you.
Good
Superintendent.
evening, Mr. Chair, members of the school committee. It is my honor to announce the new administrators that are joining our team. I'm excited for the contributions that they will be making to the Warwick School Department. First appointment goes to Jeff Goss. He'll be the principal of Warwick Veterans Middle School. I do not see Mr. Goss in the audience, but we do welcome Mr. Goss to our team. Paul Heatherton, former principal of Oakland Beach School, is now the coordinator of federal programs and grants and the DEI coordinator. So welcome, Paul. Paul's here tonight, so welcome. We also have Matthew Yates joining our administrative team. He'll be the principal of Oakland Beach School. I believe Matthew is here tonight. And we have Ryan Raffinelli joining our administrative team. He'll be the principal at Wyman Elementary School. And finally, Eric Pagan will become the principal of Lippert Elementary School. And I want to congratulate all of you, and I look forward to working with you.
Is no other personnel announcements? Okay. Moving on. Next agenda item is donations and correspondence. We have two. We have a donation of $800 from the NWN Carousel to the Warwick Career Tech Center for the golf tournament. And we have a donation from the Kiwanis Club of Kent County for $500 for Sherman for a little free library box and post. Warwick Public Schools will install a library box outside of the school building to allow year-round public access. The Kiwanis Club of Kent County will supply the books. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your generosity. Next, adoption of policies. Dr. Cecil.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair, school committee members. The first policy we have tonight is the second read of policy ING, therapy dogs in school. Unless there are any questions, I'm requesting approval and adoption of this policy.
Motion to approve?
Motion to adopt.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next policy is BDDB, agenda format. I'm asking for a second read and adoption. However, I want to point out that there are a few more corrections to it than we originally gave you the first time. Teresa was very good at pointing out that some of the items were no longer used in our current agenda, so this actually mimics the agenda format that we use. So it's in the same order that the agenda is, except for moving the public comment to before the executive session, which was the whole point of this to begin with. So I'm requesting approval and adoption of
Move
this.
approval.
Can I just ask one thing? And also the recognitions will be before we go
Yeah,
into
yes.
executive session as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So Ms. Backus moved it. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the agenda item for the 2 donations. We just want a motion to approve the acceptance of those donations.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chair, on that.
Yes, Mr. Gallion.
Just one point, I believe in the past 12 months, this is the second donation made by the Kiwanis Club, so I just wanted the public to be aware that this group is continuing to support our school community, so.
So noted. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, new business. Discussion update, summer 2023 bond projects. Mr. Gothberg.
Good evening, Chairman Testa, committee members, superintendent, colleagues, community. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Oliver and his team for everything they're doing to help get these buildings clean, help these projects succeed. Without him and his team, we would not make it. So I'd like everybody to understand how much Mr. Oliver and his team really does to help these summer projects succeed. I missed the lectern here. Start off with the Windman renovation project. I hope everybody understands this has been a 2-year project, quite extensive. We'll start with the boiler room abatement, and there were 3 more rooms of floor tile abatement that have been abated. Window installation is wrapping up, a few more windows to do, and will be completed before school begins. Window shades are being installed as windows are completed. Minor interior work is being completed and will be done before school starts, and the flooring in the abated areas will be completed by 8/18. Boiler room demolition, which is the demolition of the 3 large boilers in the boiler room, have just started, and the infrastructure demolition will continue to right up into 8/25. The new overhead doors at the loading dock are to be installed upon the completion of the boiler room demolition, because we're taking all the boiler room components out. We don't want to damage new doors. We'll do that after the demolition is complete. Unfortunately, the generator ship date, I was informed today that the generator was supposed to arrive tomorrow. The ship date was delayed, along with the automatic transfer switch, which was a integral component to get the new electrical service started. So what we're going to do is the contractor and the electrical contractor have decided they're going to drive to the Midwest, pick this thing up and drive it back and get it here in time so that we can do our switchover and shutdown as we've promised on the 21st, and get everything hooked up and ready to go. I'd like to thank Scott Collard and his team and Allberg for doing this, actually committing 2 guys to drive out to pick this up and get it back here in time. Once the electrical connection, and we waited 2 years for this item, by the way. This is all supply chain issue. I have no answers for it. Once the final electrical connections are made, rooftop units will be started, system balance performed, and final connections made to our new power panels throughout the building, which are connected up top but not down below. Due to the delayed delivery of the final electrical components, there may be some minor work happening after hours and a weekend or two after school starts, but we will be ready to open. There was some minor, the Windman roof, there was some minor work to be done on top with ductwork, and that is completed. Windman site project, new sidewalks are almost complete. They poured next to the last pour this afternoon. One more pour to do before the end of the week. Asphalt removal begins tomorrow morning, bright and early. They will grind up the existing asphalt. That parking lot where everybody parks next to the Tollgate Auditorium, we're going to try and fill that up and do a little better job. But then the rest will be taken off. And the new paving installation will be completed by 8/19. So the new parking lot, the new drive, everything will be done. As the bid came in exceptionally low, we were able to add additional paving that was not included in the original scope of work. So the parking lot between the drive and the tennis courts was not planned to be done, but it is going to be done now. So it came out very, very well. Sherman renovation. I am happy to say that we are complete at Sherman, except for very minor punch list items. Thanks to Rhode Island Energy, we finally were able to get everything done. Balancing was being completed today. Just some minor stuff, a few ceiling tiles to be put back and forth. Back in, and Thursday, I believe that we will have the final fire alarm inspection, and we'll be good to go. The building will be ready to go. Greenwood Building Envelope Project. New doors are installed. Windows have arrived. Windows are another long lead time item. If you drive by Greenwood, you see we pulled windows out. We have plywood up. They will be all installed before school starts. There may be, because of late arrival, a couple of small windows here and there that will go either second shift or weekends, but by late September, we will have everything completed. Greenwood temporary boiler. As you know, we've been talking about the failure of the boiler at Greenwood. We had two choices. We either could buy a brand new boiler, put it in, and then take it out when we do the new HVAC project next year. We were able to, through AD&D, welding and boiler works, find new sections for the boiler. So starting next week, we're going to rebuild the boiler, get it up and running by mid-September. There may be some minor work going on during school, but it's confined to the boiler, no impact to the students. So we will have heat up and running for that school by mid-end of September. The HVAC system has gone out to bid for Greenwood early, so that in anticipation of next summer's project, as the supply chain issues keep happening, earlier we go out to bid, the better position we are to succeed at our projects. Holloman site project. This started off as a major paving project, including concrete sidewalks and some site drainage. The sidewalks are completed. The original site drainage package is done. However, as we were doing some exploratory excavation, we found that the roof drain dry wells original to the building had failed. So we were able to do a complete new drainage system off the left-hand side of that building, and because the bids were low, and put that in. That is now hooked up, so we will really be done ahead of time with work that could have been done in 2 years. We were able to get it done this year. The runoff retention areas are installed, and last thing to be done will be that back courtyard will be crack-filled and resealed, and we'll have a great-looking area for that school. Hoxie ADA upgrades, millwork is installed, ADA door openers are installed, toilet rooms, and the added nurses suite work that was demanded by the Governor's Commission on Disability are being completed, and all will be finished by the start of school. Norwood ADA upgrades and building envelope, new exterior doors and entryway has been installed. Glass to the entryway will be installed by 8/18. Millwork installation will be complete by 8/18. Toilet rooms will be completed before the start of school. Windows, again, came from the same company that we had got them from Greenwood, and windows will be completed by the start of school, and we're waiting on a couple of back-ordered components, but they should be in before school starts, so we don't have a worry about that. Norwood site project. Sidewalks have been completed, and we were able to do additional sidewalks were not planned for in front of the building. If we can cobble together some more funds, there's some more sidewalk to do out front, but at this point, I don't have that money. Paving has been completed at the bus drop-off and the front parking lot. The rear play area has a binder layer down, and paving should be completed by end of the week, so the parking lot area, and that should be all done way before school starts. Park ADA upgrades, plumbing rough was completed, and plumbing fixture installation is underway. Millwork to be installed by the end of next week. Nurses suite and the toilet rooms will be completed by the week of 8/21. This project went out to bid late. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to do it, but it will get done before the start of school. The Scott re-roofing project, roof is to be completed by 8/25, right on schedule. And if you know that building on the top, there's a machine room, and it has some siding that had curled, so that will all be done by 8/18. The Career and Tech Electrical Classroom HVAC project is completed. Here at Vets, the annex roof was wind damaged last year. We were able to use the building envelope money, and we will get a new roof on the Vets Annex building starting 8/21 and be done by 8/30. Warwick Neck renovation project. This is the most difficult project I think we've tried to accomplish, even compared to Windman. The roof work is completed. HVAC rough is about 90% completed. The 4-room addition has been turned over to Mr. Oliver and his team for cleaning. Second floor of the 2-story addition has been roughed in, ceilings in, and turned over to Mr. Oliver and his team for cleaning. The ADA upgrades, the millwork is installed, plumbing rough in the toilet rooms is completed, finishes to start this week. HVAC roof equipment, due to the supply chain issues, will be arriving late. It will be set on a weekend and be operating by end of September. Any work required to be in the building to be done for final connections will be done after hours or weekends. The new condensing boilers are installed, waiting on pumps to be delivered 9/9, another supply chain issue. I don't know why pumps are a problem, but they seem to be. New exterior doors are installed. The new electrical service is being installed with renewed cooperation with Rhode Island Energy, and will be ready and operational for school opening. Paving, where we had to dig up the lot for the electrical service, will be repaired by 8/18. The one big worry we have are windows. The windows for this school, because of the proximity to the coast, are hurricane windows, what they call Missile D windows. The manufacturer has repeatedly pushed off the delivery date. They are supposedly going to arrive by next Wednesday. We will start installing immediately, and then we'll determine how we're going to install the rest, whether we do it weekends, nights, or hold off and maybe even install some next spring during spring vacation or something like that. But we won't know until the windows arrive, but it does not affect the project. So at this point in time, Warwick Neck is on schedule to open for school. There will be some work going on. I'm not going to fool the community. There will be work going on nights and weekends to scramble to get it done, but we will get it done. Playgrounds for Greenwood, Hoxie, Oakland Beach, Sherman, and Welk. Though we ordered these months ago, I still don't have a confirmation for a ship date because of supply chain. So we thought it best that we do not demolish the existing playgrounds, leave them be. Once I know what the ship date is, what the order of the arrival of the equipment is, we will start on those schools and do one at a time and get it done. We're hoping mid-October. I'm happy to answer any questions. Total
Mr.
of
Gallagher.
20 projects this summer.
First, I want to say thank you to your team for all the hard work. That's a large workload that you guys have undertaken here, and certainly all the pre-work that went into that is substantial as well. And thank you to Mr. Oliver and your team for seeing many of these projects through the finish line here. My one question for you would be, you'd mentioned the HVAC system is down at Warwick Neck at this time? Does
No,
that support the entire facility or a portion?
It won't be completed or running until the rooftop units arrive. That's the big issue, is the rooftop unit.
And that's expected for end of September?
Mid-September, completed, up and running by end of September.
And with the issues around the windows and those coming in late, and it's going to take you some time to install those windows, do you have any concerns from an indoor air quality perspective as towards air movement and flow within the building?
Should the existing fans, exhaust fans will be running, will be no different than they've had in the
You'd,
past.
you'd be going off the existing system?
Well, there's not an HVAC system to speak of. There's really just a exhaust fan system. So this will all be as it was, and then it will be better once the new, it'll be complete once the units arrive.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Hazelwood?
I just want to thank Mr. Gothberg and Mr. Oliver and your team for everything. I know you work tirelessly on behalf of the schools, and I just really want to give you and all of the guys that work with you, thanks.
Thank you. And I have to chime in. Obviously, Mr. Oliver, thank you. You and Mr. Gothberg work together to clear sections of the buildings to clean to get them open. Your job is to get them open. I need to take this time to publicly thank Mr. Gothberg and Jennifer French, who's in his office. It's a two-person office. And I know you said you did 20 projects, but the list you gave me, there's 30-plus projects totaling tens of millions of dollars that are really being overseen by one person, and that's him. And Jennifer French in his office keeps all the trains running on time. Brandon, she's in communication with you, she's in communication with the city to make sure that all the requisitions are accurate and everything else. It is a monumental task that Mr. Gothberg has taken on. And I couldn't be more grateful to anyone than I am to Mr. Gothberg for his professionalism and his ability to oversee it and his ability to crack the whip with some of the vendors. And finally, I would say with Mr. Gothberg, what Mr. Gothberg did not report is some of the stuff that we found as we got into buildings. I would call them hack repairs. Windman, we had a section of the sprinkler system tied to the potable water system. It's a $170,000 fix. At Holman, we found a 5,000-gallon underground oil tank, half full, unforeseen. And I can go on and on about those hack repairs we found, but we're approaching 7 figures of funds that we had to reallocate to fix those things. And there's an opportunity cost whenever you do that. So I look at that and I say, when this body had to decide which HVAC systems were going to go in, right, because we couldn't do them all anymore, right? When I look at $1 million plus, maybe approaching $2 million, the first thing I'm thinking of is, what else can we have spent that money on? So we don't do hack repairs. We fix it right the first time, even if it costs us, but we have to fix it right the first time. And I want to just commend you for it. So thank you, Mr. Gothberg.
Mr. Chair? I'd also like to thank Mr. Gothberg, who's working 7 days a week into the evenings every day. And I know you've been right there, making sure things are on time, things are getting done, feeling that your presence is necessary. So the workers are working hard. And also, Mr. Oliver, you're a great partner. On our Thursday directors' meetings, Mr. Gothberg and you coordinate everything, and I appreciate you and your staff as well. So thank you.
Ms. Backus?
I want to thank Mr. Gothberg as well. You do yeoman's work. I don't know how you do it, but I'm glad you do, and I'm glad you're here. I also want to thank Mr. Oliver and all of his staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gothberg. Okay, next, discussion, update, FY 2023 monthly financial report and year in review. Mr. Bowl.
I provided, good evening, Mr. Chairman, School Committee. I provided everyone with the fiscal year 24 July report. Just as a note too, the June 2023 numbers are still draft, and those are continuing to be updated until we finally close the fiscal year 23 books. So those numbers will continue to be updated until the books are closed. If you have any questions, happy to answer.
How long will it be before the books are closed?
Yeah, the RIDE requires that the UCOA financials are due to them by September 30th, so before September 30th.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Bowl? If not, thank you, Mr. Bowl. I note the lunch fund balance is now $145,000, $145,616. Okay. Okay, next item, discussion action, disciplinary hearing concerning non-certified employee. I'll be looking for a motion to uphold the administration's recommendation.
Motion to uphold the administration's recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, discussion action, FY '24 substitute rates. Mrs. Ruggieri.
Good evening again. In your packet, you'll find my proposed rates. Superintendent and I sat down. We wish that these could be higher. We honestly do. However, after talking to Mr. Bowl and what our salary, substitute salary line ended up in FY '23, excuse me, we weren't in a position to raise them with, at any rate that we would have liked. So I chose to give the same percentage rates as the corresponding union for each position. So the substitute teachers got the same percentage the teachers got, and the same for WISE members.
Any questions of the committee?
Yes, Mr. Testa. Do you anticipate doing that in the future, following the raises of teachers and other subs and
I
the
think it's a great
contracts?
place to start. I sent out something to my colleagues in the state asking what their sub rates were. We like to remain competitive. Not very many responded. I don't think they want to, go against each other, and I can respect that as well. We are above where we were pre-COVID, obviously. We can't meet what we were during COVID because we don't have that COVID funding coming in any longer. As I said to you earlier, if we can at any point come to you and raise them higher, whether we have absenteeism down and we're not using the substitutes as much, we will certainly do that. We respect and we would like to keep the people that we have. Mhm.
Any other questions for Mrs. Ruggieri? Okay, hearing, Mr. Ruggieri, I would say thank you for this. I completely understand where you're coming from. And, we did, to your credit, or I think when you were here when we instituted the building subs, that has proven successful and it's a good idea. So that could drive it up too. I would just, as I mentioned to Mr. Bull, just want to dive a little deeper into what that sub figure was and what the cause of it was. But, Providence is paying $225 a day for long-term subs. But when you get the lion's share of the money, you can do that, I guess. Okay. There's a motion to accept and seconded, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, discussion action, contract award, Scoreboard Enterprises wireless football scoreboard for Pilgrim High School. Mr. Ricks.
Good evening, Chairman Tesma and the rest of the committee. There's a typo on that. That's for Warwick veterans.
Yeah, I thought so. As soon as I read it, I said, wait a minute. Okay,
Yeah,
it's for
so
veterans.
I'm looking to replace the scoreboard at Warwick veterans. Both Tollgate uses that facility as well as the Warwick Vets teams. Just a little background on it. The scoreboard's over 20 years old. It doesn't work anymore. For the past 2.5 years, we've tried different parts. We've called the company who is in the Midwest and doesn't have a representative in this area. Our electricians have been working with me to try to get this going. We've been through 3 parts already that we've had sent to us. It's still not running. And that's essential to have football games and other sports at that facility. So I come to you to purchase a new scoreboard.
Motion,
So
Move
moved.
approval.
move approval. A second?
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Hazelwood? No?
I'm just glad we're getting it, because Tollgate deserves a decent scoreboard when they go to play, just like Pilgrim does, so there we go.
And vets too.
That's right.
Any other comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, discussion action contract award Pioneer Manufacturing, purchase of athletic field paint. Mr. Ricks.
So the athletic paint, that will basically get us through the year, I hope, and it'll also give us a little bit of a start to next year. I do have some paint from last year, and that wasn't by luck. That was, well, it was not by luck, but by chance, because by the time we finally get our paint order in the fall, it's already, the fields have already needed to be lined, which is what's going on right now with what I had left over for paint. So that's for the paint for all the athletic fields.
Okay, look for a motion to approve.
Move approval.
Second?
Second.
Any questions for Mr. Ricks? Ms. Backus?
Mr. Ricks, how often do you have to line the fields and things like that?
A lot of it depends on the weather, Ms. Bacchus. If we get a lot of rain and the grass grows faster, it not only washes away, but we have to cut the grass more often. There's a lot of variables with that, but.
So it's pretty frequent?
Yeah, oh, it's frequently, yes. They touch it up. I mean, once you get the baselines down, which takes a number of cases of paint, it's a matter of touch-up, but yes, quite often.
Thank you.
No more, hearing no other questions, just call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Ricks, one more time for you. Discussion action, contract award, 3T Enterprises, girls soccer uniforms, Tollgate.
Yes, so they are due. This is a budget item. As I said, we try to replace the uniforms on a 5 to 6 year period. Based on how the uniforms are, we were able to get 6 years out of this, but they are due to get their uniforms, and the uniforms that were chosen to be purchased are the same ones that the Pilgrim boys and girls use.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next up, Mr. Oliver, discussion action, contract award Clark Security, purchase of lock cylinders to be used throughout the district. This is an unbudgeted expense.
Good evening. I'm requesting your approval on this contract. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Why is this matter? Oh, first, I move
Yeah,
approval.
Move approval. Second?
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Backus?
Discussion. Why is it not budgeted?
So what happens is I budget a broad number in lumber and hardware. And what's happened is we found other locks across the district at this point that we have to replace due to damage or wear and tear. So we purchase ones and twosies and out of that account, but at the end of the day, when we have a large purchase where we have buy a large quantity of locks, we make sure that we come to you for the proper approval and be very transparent and make sure you understand what we're purchasing.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, discussion action, Columbus door for the removal and installation of a new exterior door for the maintenance building. Not a budgeted expense. Mr. Oliver.
Yes, so this door is original to the building. At this point, when you have to exit the building, my secretaries have to literally put their shoulder into the door to open it. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to replace the door because it's a safety issue now at this point.
Move approval.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, discussion action award AAA mobile warehousing for the rental of 6 mobile storage units to be used in 3 different locations. Mr. Oliver.
Yes, these are storage units that we are using currently for multiple locations across the district for storage of various things. You know, we have one in the back of Vets here that holds the wood for the wood shop that we rent. You know, we have a few across the district that we have other equipment in them. We have a bunch of them at my maintenance office that houses other equipment and supplies that we can't hold in the warehouse. So those are what we have to pay to hold them because we run out of room.
Move approval.
Second?
Second.
Second, okay, discussion, Mr.
Why-
Oh, hold
why
on, Ms.
is-
Backus, go ahead.
Why was this unbudgeted?
What's that?
Why was this unbudgeted?
Why was this one budgeted?
Why was it unbudgeted?
Oh, this doesn't say it's unbudgeted, does it?
No, this is a budgeted item.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
This is stuff that we have on site that we rent right now, and we've had them over the past 5 or 6 years, so it's.
that's what I thought. No, for some reason, it says it's not a budgeted expense, but
Yeah, I think that's just a mistake on the agenda. So this is budgeted, right?
It's a budget item, correct.
Yeah, it is budgeted, and in these
Okay.
documents, it shows budgeted, so I don't know what it's.
Sorry about that. Mr. Oliver, this is variable, right? So a year from now, you may not need these.
Right, right now I have one at my warehouse that I'm getting stuff out of, and that will go away probably by mid-year.
Right.
Yeah.
So a year from now, that you may not need 2 at Pilgrim
No,
or whatever.
Yeah, 4 or
So-
5 of them could go away, correct.
Yeah, so it's a situational thing, right?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Mr. Oliver, you again, discussion action, contract award, Phalanx Engineering, removal of failed evaporator.
Right, this was a replacement of an evaporator for air conditioning unit on the Lippert air conditioning system. Obviously, I didn't know it was going to break, so it's a non-budget item. We do appropriate money for breakdowns and things like that, and this is just one of the things that, was just unforeseen.
And this
Move
was at
approval.
Lippert, you said, right? No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, move approval, a second?
Second,
Discussion?
I have a discussion.
Yep, Ms. Hazelwood.
What is an evaporator?
So an evaporator is, it takes all the humidity out of the room and
Okay.
evaporates, so that's where, you know how your air conditioner
Yeah.
drips? That's an evaporator.
I was curious.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any questions, Mr. Gallagher?
Yes, which line items in the budget would this now be covered by?
This will be heating and plumbing.
Heating and plumbing? And
Correct.
for the other 2 not budgeted expenses?
Lumber and hardware would be the locks, and lumber and hardware would be the door.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Mr. Oliver, you again. Contract award, fire equipment, renewal of fire equipment contract.
This is our quarterly fire alarm inspections that we have to do by law, and this is the company that we're doing business with, and that's the cost for our inspections for the year.
move approval.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I remember a time when these inspections were not done, and when we had outdated equipment. So I am grateful that over the past few years, this has started to be taken care of on a regular basis and in a timely manner.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it was before, I just want to say, it was before Mr. Oliver's time.
Yes, yeah, it was. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, discussion action contract award, modern teacher consultant contract, Superintendent Danbrook, Dr. Schultz, and Mrs. Murray.
Yes, the district leadership team met a representative from Modern Teacher both virtually and in person to learn about their organization and how they can benefit what we're doing at Warwick schools. Our team strongly feels that the partnership will give us a strategic framework to keep moving the district forward on the path to increase student achievement, better support teaching and learning, and expand professional development opportunities. Dr. Schultz and Mrs. Murray, who are a part of the district leadership team, are here tonight, and they would like to share some benefits of this partnership.
Thank you, Ms. Danbrook. So I'm happy to speak upon this. We have met with the representative from Modern Teacher, and she really knocked our socks off. This is a really good opportunity for us. This is a grant-funded initiative, and I know that there are some different questions that I've even gotten tonight. I know that Ms. Netco had a question about just the way that it's going to be presented to the teachers, and I want to just assuage any fears with that. Right now, it's a platform that we're going to be using initially with administrators to help train all administrators as excellent instructional leaders. Right now, as we know, our scores are going up. We've had an upward trend. We want to keep that momentum. And so with that, Modern Teacher has said that they're going to take our initiatives, help us with them to help map it out in a strategic way. Other districts hire people to do this at the tune of like $100,000, but it's much cheaper to hire this firm to help us with this work, help us move it forward. They're experts. They have great testimonials online. Please check it out. And then with that, once people are trained in the administrative positions, we'll then move forward with the teachers. Teachers are able to get micro-credentials in different areas. It's not just about the lecture model in the classrooms, because of course we've moved away from that. We don't want to return to that. That's old news. We don't want to go back there. And so with that, we want to keep moving things forward. We want to continue to support the student discourse initiatives, everything that we're doing in our classrooms, and really start to look at data on a deeper level. And they said that they'll help us with that. And so having a platform for professional development for both administrators and teachers, we can even work on DEI, which is something that, again, other districts hire coordinators for that, a single coordinator for that. So think about the cost savings right there. We're paying for a service. It's really, I think, to me, a no-brainer, because it's grant funded, and we have the money to help keep our professional development initiatives moving forward. So we're just asking for your approval with that tonight. And I think Mrs. Murray wanted to say a couple words too.
You guys both said it well. Good evening. I just would like to add how important it is for our district leaders, our building leaders, to continue professional development, to hone their own skills and move our district forward. We have great pockets of work happening, and to have this consultancy come in and pull our great work together and make it a coherent vision and bring our vision of a graduate to life would be very helpful for our district. We all have so many things that we're working on, but pulling it together so that everyone is clear about our vision and our path will help us grow to be successful.
We are
Move
truly,
approval.
we are truly excited about this initiative, very excited.
Second,
Moved and seconded.
and then I have a
Ms.
discussion too.
Discussion, Ms. Hazelwood.
How will you roll this out to the teachers and administrators?
Well, that's a great question. We're going to start really slowly because it's going to be a new partnership. And so we want to map that out with our representative. Once we get approval tonight, then we'll meet with the person and then start to roll it out with our district administrative team first to make sure that we're on the right track. We want to try the different modules online to make sure it really fits in with what we believe in. And then we'll roll it out to principals and make sure that it aligns with what they want to learn as well, and then to teachers later. Not until next year for teachers, we're assuming. And I know there have been questions too about parents have wondered if it's something that the students are going to take part in, and that students are going to be on the computers even more. And no, I just want to let them know it's not that at all. It's for our faculty, our staff.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Mr. Gallagher.
This is for a one-year contract?
This is a one-year commitment right now. We want to make sure it's a right fit for us, and then we could always re-up with them as we move forward. And it won't be, I think it won't be less expensive past year one, if I remember correctly. We get a discount.
And can it be grant funded in
Grant
year
funded,
two
yep.
and beyond?
Mhm.
It's not a one-time deal with grant funding on this?
Yep,
Okay,
it
great.
continues.
Ms. Kirby-Chapman.
Going with the teacher involvement, so it feels like there's been some resistance just with wit and wisdom. How are we going to go with the teachers with now another program? And is this going to be something where they're going to be like, oh, if you like in professional development, we have to pay them for that. Now, is this going to be part of we have to make sure that this is part of the professional development? Or are we paying them extra to learn this? Is this a volunteer basis only, and how many are actually going to participate?
So that's a really good question. There's a lot of different layers. Right now, we have 3 professional development days that are granted from the Department of Education so that we can focus on the right to read training. I'm not sure what that's going to look like moving forward, but right now they're built into the school year, so we do not have to pay teachers extra. I'm not sure what that's going to look like when the mandate runs out. We have until 2025 5, thank you, for the training for Right to Read, and we're right on track with that. Some people have finished early, and so they have days now where they're able to do other types of training, and we want to make sure that their time is extremely valuable, and so we want to make sure that they're able to gain micro-credentials in areas that they're interested in. So if a teacher, for example, really is interested in DEI and learning more about diversity, equity, and inclusion, they could get a micro-credential in that area. So it's not an onus that's put on the teacher, it's more of something they can choose from, and it should be something that they really enjoy. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair?
Sorry. So my comment would be that it's almost like tailor-made. It's kind of like a menu of options, and so if I was really interested in X, Y, and Z on those days that my letters training was complete, I would move in that direction and do some, some training that I'm interested in, and then get those micro-credentials that way. So that's just an example.
So let's say after the end of the year, you maybe got like a 20% participation. Do we say this is still valid, we should go forward, or do we say like, oh, that might have been a fail?
I would love to pass the mic to Dr. Cecil.
Modern Teacher is much more than just the professional development. It's a system that helps us to stay on track to meeting our goals that we have established in our district strategic plan. So the professional development is just one component of it, but it's more around moving the entire district in the direction that we want, rebranding ourselves. There's a platform, an actual software platform where we keep track of the work that we're doing. And it, like all changes, it's a 3 to 5 year commitment if we're going to really follow through and complete all of the different stages of what this organization believes we need to go through in order to fully meet our goals and to move the district forward in the direction that we want to achieve. When we get to my agenda item, this has already been approved by RIDE
Right.
for funding, and so it would be approved every year in our grant application. So it's already been approved by RIDE.
So you're saying like this is something we'll never pay for?
Correct.
Okay. But I still ask, how willingly do you think you're going to get teacher participation?
I'm really hoping that everyone is so excited about it that we can't keep them away from the platform, but I do understand that there are other things that people need to work on. And so right now, if we had our entire teaching staff entered into the platform, only about half of them would be able to participate right now because the rest are involved in the Right to Read training. And so we'd have at max a 50% rate. And so we're still learning about the platform, but from what I understand, we're able to assign a certain amount of hours for the teachers to complete, and then at the end they'll get their completion certificates, which they need for certification. They need a certain amount of PLUs, professional learning units, that they have to keep track of every year, 30 a year. And so that'll help them get those hours. And so teachers, they need the opportunity. We have to provide the opportunity for them to get those. And so this is the way that we would do that. So I do think that we'd have a very high buy-in rate because they need them to get their certifications.
Sorry, thank you.
Sure.
How does this tie into the vision of the graduate? Like, how do you put this all together?
That's a really good question. And in the packet, you'll see that I think it's one of the first things that they created for us is just how they kind of see all of it and how it all ties in. So for anybody listening that's interested, if you click on that, you can see the entire packet of everything that they'll align with us. Right now, our main focus is a skilled communicator and the empathetic collaborator strands. And so with that, that's where we start to really hone in with our administrative team first to make sure that teachers are on board the Student Discourse Initiative. And so things like that, they work with us to help create the different professional development pathways. And so one of the things they could do would be working on something that Ms. Netco mentioned before, like station rotation. They could have a mini-series on how to do that in a more exciting way. And so giving teachers tools that they can use, you know, and it's helpful if you've been out of, you know, either you're out of the classroom for a while, you're a new teacher, you're not sure about classroom discipline, all these different things. You can go in and learn all about these in different self-paced modules. So I think that there's a lot of value in it.
And this is gonna be K through 12, right?
Yep, K through 12.
And then, so you put up a couple of books, so so Sean Smith was the author, and this is his program. He talks a lot about Montessori. So is there some, like, Montessori base to this program?
I don't know the answer to that. Not that I'm aware of. They didn't mention that when we were meeting with them.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
I purchased the books today because I'm a reader. And I'll let you know what I think.
Yes, please.
Ms. Backes, did you have a comment?
The first year you said is going to be mostly focused on administrators?
Yes, we want to test it and make sure it's the best fit for us.
Understood, thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Galligan?
I'd remark to Chairman Testa that I could probably use the empathetic collaborator portions of this, so make sure I get a license as well, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. Dr. Schultz, Superintendent, you have something?
Yes, I just want to make a couple of clarifications. So with the professional development modules, they'll help us tailor-make modules specifically for Warwick. So for our initiatives, these modules will be aligned for us as well as modules that they prepare for us. And the vision of a graduate, that's going to be the center of our work with them. So I just want to clarify that.
Thank you. Dr. Schultz, you mentioned if someone looks at the PDF that was on the online documents, it's the 7th page of that presentation where it has the vision of a graduate.
Yep.
So I can't speak for Mr. Galligan, but we're both private sector people, so we get trainings all the time. I've been in my job I just did the math, it's almost 37 years. I still get training. Some of it's good, some of it's not, but you know, the people at our company who vet that, usually they are spot on, so it's pretty good. And I think, you know, everything changes. And I've said it before, we do practically nothing the same way that we did 20 years ago and 30 years ago. We do everything differently. So, and the technology-based training like this is good. So, I mean, it's all good. So I'm supportive of it. So, if there are no other questions, we'll just take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Before we go to the next item, Ms. Ruggieri, you want to make a clarification on the personnel?
Yes, thank you very much. I had a clerical error on the sheet. I just want to point out that Jennifer Putt, school psychologist, is assigned to Welk. So I just wanted to make that clear to the public that Welk will have a full-time psychologist. So I apologize for the error. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so next item, discussion action, Go Guardian Beacon subscription, grant funded. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. What we have before you is the request to purchase the Go Guardian Beacon subscription. This is grant funded. Dr. Cecil, Mr. Majacomo, myself, we worked on a grant to fund this product, and will really prove to do good things for our students. So we'd ask for your approval this evening.
Move approval.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Mr. Galligan?
I support the system. I think there's great value for the school district. I am going to, through our subcommittee for policy, propose a couple recommended edits to the student data privacy and security policy, just to curb any concerns of the general public. Not that I believe that we're using those capabilities of the software for that, but just to give people that ease of, but I do feel that this software is very beneficial for our school district, so I'm in support of it. Thank you.
And just to your point, Mr. Galligan, I think that's excellent. We do have policy language, I think it's in IGAK, which is the acceptable use of technology, which prohibits the school district or any personnel from doing anything with audio or video or anything of the such.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just had, I had parents reach out to me that with concerns that we could monitor what was going on in their homes through audio and video. So I really appreciate you sharing that policy with me, and I was able to share it with others, that is not the case. This is for use in the school.
Absolutely, and I appreciated those questions. I think if anybody ever has a question, just ask, because if you don't ask, then people come up with their own answers sometimes. In GoGuardian, in the admin product we have, the teacher product, and now the Beacon product, there are 0.0 features in the program, buttons that we could turn on that makes cameras go on or audio go on. It doesn't exist. It's not in there. I consulted with GoGuardian today specifically just so I could sit here and be confident that that was the 100% answer. And so there's no worries about that 0.0. So I want to make that abundantly clear. But thank you for those questions, because without that, we wouldn't be able to say that tonight.
And thank you for your due diligence.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. I've been a huge advocate of GoGuardian since we rolled out one-to-one Chromebooks. I had 3 kids. I have 3 kids. They were all teenagers once. And teenagers and technology are not a good mix at times. And at the end of the day, they are district-owned devices. So, you know, you have to have some level of security, a measure of security. You know, I did see on a social media post, someone put out an ACLU thing from 3 years ago, and I believe when we did this, Mr. Hennies may concur, I think we adjusted our policies when we started to implement these things. And I would note that the grant that this is written from, the BSCA grant, references a slew of federal, state regulations and laws that you have to follow. So I don't have any concern whatsoever that we're going to be infringing on anyone's privacy. But again, social media is always the bastion of truth, so be that. Any other, if there are other questions, Ms. Gerbich?
Well, it's not really a question, but can you state, I guess, how it is used, what they do? Are they just like a Google, like it'll just Google just certain words? How's it flagged? Can you just say it out loud?
Yes, absolutely. I'd love to. Usually it never a loss for words. So, as my colleagues will tell you. What happens is GoGuardian in general is a web filtering product. And so it's attached to the Google accounts that our students have. And as they're using their Google devices, their Chromebooks and their Google accounts, it looks for patterns of words that they search. Now, the GoGuardian admin and teacher that we've been using, those 2 programs we've been using for a number of years, will filter if students try to access an inappropriate website, and it will flag that as inappropriate, and that's also how we block certain websites that come to our attention that need to be blocked so that students cannot access them. And those filters are even specific down to grade level, elementary, middle, high school, and the types of thresholds that you'd have there. What GoGuardian Beacon does is it takes into play the same filtering. So it's just web filtering what's being searched. It's not, again, listening or seeing anything, but what's being typed into the Google search engine or a Google document. And it's looking for flags for 2 main things. One is school violence. So if I search in my Google how to hurt kids or hurt a school, it will flag that. And it will send it immediately to a chain, first person principal, let's say, or school psychologist, and if it's after hours, to the parent, directly. This product is 24/7, which means that we're buying the product that even off hours, there's live people that will call and say, hey, just so you know, this is what we're seeing. The other piece is self-harm. And in self-harm, it's looking for such phrases, how do I hurt myself? What's the best way to do X, Y, and Z? When we tested this product for the purposes of the grant, we did a trial. And in the trial, we just cast a net as a district and said, would we get any alerts for this kind of stuff? And we did. We got a number of searches that kids were seeking self-harm, and we referred that immediately to the psychologist and the social worker, and we interceded in some incidences that we would not have known about. That's 100%. And so that is at the elementary, middle, and high school level, mostly at the middle school level, that we noticed the alerts. So now in the test phase, when we didn't really expect to get many alerts, we were calling families, and they were thankful that we had a product that was catching that, things that they did not even know their children were going through. So now how do you not launch that, school-wide. So that's, why the grant's been super helpful. And we got a 3-year grant on this, so we'll be able to continue it for the next 3 years at least, and then onward. But hopefully that explains a little bit more about what's going on here.
Just to put a step further, so say I'm a kid and I'm looking up like Call of Duty stuff. Like in there, it's kind of war or whatever. It's not going to flag it, or would it flag it? Is there somebody superseeing it, overseeing it?
Yeah, so it depends on exactly what you look up, the sequence in which you look up. And it might, just because it flags it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It just means somebody's going to look at that and say, oh yes, there was a search and there's a conversation. What we noticed when we did this pilot test to collect some data is song lyrics. Sometimes when a student looks up song lyrics, it might flag, but I'd rather have a mental health professional and or parents certainly ask about that than just not ever ask about that. So it might be false positives that get caught in there, but that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the questions. I always prefer them.
Any other questions? I would just say we
Just
can't
a
let-
comment,
Go ahead.
because this is so important, because we have lost kids to suicide in the past, and we haven't had this, and I don't know if that could have prevented or helped, but at least there's something out there so that we can call a parent and say, look, you might want to talk to your child about this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
How can we help,
It's one of those products, and, we do this a lot. We have a lot of software programs, a lot of technology, but whenever we did the testing to see how this works, it was one of those products that you didn't realize that there was that much need, and we were just scratching the surface of the pilots. So it was eye-opening to me, to even see that was so prevalent.
Okay. All right, I would just say perfect can't be the enemy of the good, so I think this is it's a good feature to have. Okay. No other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item up, Dr. Taylor, you again, discussion action contract award, Wally Computer, purchase of staff Chromebooks.
Awesome. This is a budgeted expense. When we hired new staff and Mr. Jerry went over the big list last month and this month, we try to give our teachers a new device as they enter the district, or a device that is passed down that is relatively brand new. We don't like to start anybody off on a device that's been quite worn. And this was budgeted. We did get emergency approval from the chair already to go forward so we could get them in-house prior to staff orientation, new teacher orientation. So we just look for your official approval on that.
So
Move
moved.
approval.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, discussion action, contract award, Wally Computer, 64 Promethean boards. Mr. McCaffrey, Dr. Taylor.
Mr. Chair, members of the school committee, I'm requesting your approval for this budgeted item. It's Phase 3 replacement cycle for 64 new Promethean boards.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, discussion action, contract award, Apple Inc., new Mac lab at Tollgate. Mr. McCaffrey.
Once again, this is an approved budget item. We're looking to replace the Mac lab at Tollgate High School, which is outdated. Looking for your support on this purchase.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item, discussion action, contract award, School Specialty LLC, 28 new desks at Tollgate. Mr. McCaffrey.
Yes, at Tollgate, we're looking to replace 28 desks. They've had some breakage over the years. The building is 51 years old, and we're just updating 2 of the classrooms with furniture. It's a necessary purchase, and it was also budgeted.
Move approval.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item, discussion action, contract award, Smart Pass, Hall Pass Pro Plan for Windman and Vets. Mr. McCaffrey.
Yes, this item was utilized by Warwick veterans last year, field tested, highly recommended by Warwick veterans, and then we also had a field test demonstration with the administration at Windman. It's an efficient way to manage students within your building. Both schools are highly recommending this purchase. It was a budgeted item, and I'm requesting your support.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions?
I have a discussion.
Yep.
I just want to make a comment. I visited vets and saw this in action, and the teachers loved it, and I was happy when I saw this come before us, because I know it's going to be really good for the schools to have this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, discussion action contract award Title III and 4A funds for non-public schools. Dr. Cecil.
Title II. Title
Sorry,
II and 4A.
Title II, I'm sorry.
Every year, we come to you and request approval. These are what we call pass-through funds. The private schools are entitled to these funds. Their applications, which I include in our consolidated application, have been approved by RIDE, and now we're going through the school committee to have your approval to pass these funds through us. Each school has a different focus for the use of these funds, anywhere from AP courses, responsive classroom, letters training, et cetera, et cetera.
Move
Happy to
approval.
answer any other questions.
Moved, second.
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Dr. Cecil, contract award, spending of Title I and Title 4A funds for Warwick Public Schools.
Yes. Again, because this is already our application, I'm happy to announce our full application has been approved by RIDE. So when Mr. Heatherton takes the reins next week, he's got an application he can start working with. All the programs have been approved, which means our budget has been approved. So I'm requesting your approval tonight so that we can start spending those funds. They're for a whole variety of things. For Title I, it's for each of our 5 schools. The principals developed in conjunction with their school to support their school improvement plans with their faculty, the use of the funds for professional development, for programs. Personnel, of course, has already been approved, but that's pretty much what's in Title I. And in 4A, we have Modern Teacher, we have responsive classroom initiatives that we've been doing and are ongoing. Under 4A, we are required to spend a portion of the funds on academics, safe and healthy students, and effective use of technology. And so that's all included. And we're just requesting your approval so we can start the spending.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you for the detailed report, answering my questions. I appreciate it very
Yep.
much.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, discussion action, the amended Zombie 2023-2024 WPS calendar. Just kidding. Ms. Hamburg.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the school committee.
Sorry.
I did receive a couple of concerns that the students will be getting out and the teachers will be getting out a little later in June. And I also received a call from school committee member Leah Hazelwood that she received some teacher complaints as well. So we're brainstorming ways, at least how can we move the last day of school up 1 or 2 days. So one quick solution was to take the April 23rd Professional Development Day and move it to April 2nd, which is the presidential primary. This way, the teachers will be working, the students won't have an extra day off as they would if we kept the Professional Development Day on the 23rd. So this makes the last day of school the 17th of June. I request your approval on the new calendar, amended calendar.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, discussion action, request for tech integration specialist, district level assistive technology. Mrs. Barber and Mr. Rollenbeck.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the school committee. Tonight, the Special Education Department is requesting for a tech integration specialist, district level assistive technology position. Data analysis indicates a substantial increase in the demand for assistive technology for students with disabilities in our district. This is a critical need for establishing a tech integration specialist position within the Special Services Department. After a thorough assessment of the evolving needs and the challenges we face, we strongly believe this position will address pressing needs and contribute significantly to the success of our students with disabilities. We're looking for your support in this non-budgeted position. Happy to answer any questions.
Move approval.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Ms. Hazelwood? Ms. Hazelwood?
With the need in the district, we have several, an unbelievable amount of new IEPs. And technology, we usually go to Tech Access with a lot of which is a great place. I've gotten some training there. But if we can keep it in-house, we'll get things to our students a lot quicker, which is one of the greatest goals, right?
Correct.
Yes, that's correct. We've had this position since 2015. It's just since Carrie Hendinger has vacated the position, it gave us an opportunity to sort of develop the role and expand it. So this will definitely help us to get that technology in our students' hands much faster than it would be if we waited on a wait list for Tech Access, so.
And it's a WTU position?
Correct.
Okay. The other half-time, because she was half-time speech, half-time tech, that'll be a full-time speech now, so we're adding a half-time speech.
That's correct.
Which is fantastic.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
I think, Ms. Backus, did you have a comment? Did you have anything?
No, I think it's great that we're doing this. It's been needed for a while, and going forward, I think the need is going to increase even further.
Yes.
And we've already made arrangements for a new speech therapist, correct?
That will be posted, yes, that will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yeah, just for members of the public, if they were thinking like myself when this agenda item came out, our two co-directors kind of cleared up some confusion for me because I was curious as to why we would be voting on a non-budgeted position just a couple months after the budget was approved. Essentially, there was kind of some contractual language that held us from kind of promoting this earlier. But more importantly, whether we approve this budget, non-budgeted position or not, there's still a cost to the district because we're legally obligated to provide these services to the students and services they so rightfully deserve. So whether we have this as a person in-house, as my colleague mentioned, which would be the preferred route, or we go and we contract the services, there's still going to be a cost to this district, or the alternative is operating in a non-compliant manner, which impacts the children. So initially I was looking to table this or not vote in favor of it, but I really appreciate our two co-directors taking some time this week and giving me a little bit of a 15-minute education on the role itself and the services it provides to our students. So I certainly support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barber and Mr. Allenbach, I shared Mr. Gallagher's initial concern when I see a new position on budget, but a couple of things. Number one, I'll tell you that your justification was probably one of the best ones I've seen in my time here. Data-driven, it explains the need, the why. So do you know how many devices we have in the district now, roughly?
Yes, we have 154 devices that we're currently overseeing and working with.
And that spans, I'm sure, from one of the most rudimentary to the really involved, the handy voices, the vision. And so part of this, is it also training teachers and TAs too with some of that?
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Right,
yes.
so as I thought about it, because you could have a teacher that has a student this year that has assistive technology, they can go 2 years without having any students. Then you get a new one, and you can't be expected to remember how to use this because
Right.
it changes, and then you just forget because you got other things. And the same would hold true for TAs too, right?
Correct, yes.
So, okay, so I support it too, so I just want to say, I mean, the need is concerning, the growth. I don't know what the causes are, that's way above my pay grade, so, okay. Any other questions from the committee? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next up is public comment, second public comment. This can be on anything. Please state your name when you approach the microphone. Same drill.
It is I again.
You don't have to state your name.
I won't. I could go through the litany. I know you all enjoy it. Now, just about a modern teacher again, because the discussion that you had before, I would just like to reiterate some points that came up surrounding PD. Because while it is true, our district is offering PD on the PD days for the Right to Read Act, let us keep in mind that in addition to our entire elementary teaching population and special ed K through 12, they have to be proficient. And according to RIDE, I've said it before, that means an overwhelming amount of work to be proficient. We have letters and we have Reading Reimagined, and neither of these is a walk in the park. The district has provided time, but teachers have also had to use a lot of their own time. And on top of letters or Reading Reimagined, our elementary teachers, for example, have iReady, Wit and Wisdom, GemsNet. Our secondary, our middle school has iReady, plus secondary, depending on the subject matter, has various curricula. Math had Agile Minds. I think we're doing away with Agile Minds, though, finally, because our secondary math was not happy with Agile Minds. I have HMH into literature. The middle school English has Study Sync. You can go on and on. But our elementary people in particular are overloaded with PD. And let's keep in mind that the district cut PD money. And so there's no money for after-school PD or summer PD, which we have had in the past over the years. And contractually, if a teacher does go after school or in the summer, that teacher has to be paid. Everybody's time is valuable. And, it's my job to advocate for the teachers, and that's what I'm doing. They deserve a lot of thanks for the work that they do on their own in order to prepare for their students in school. And even though they get PLUs, because that's another great, abomination RIDE has come up with in order to maintain certification, teachers have to rack up PLUs. And I've forgotten the chart now, but at a certain point now, you have to have 180 PLUs or 170 whatever it is. And that takes a lot of time and effort too. And time taken away from families. Teachers have their own families and their own responsibilities and so on and so forth. So I'm glad that that PD discussion happened because, there's only so much, time in a day, in a person's day and in a person's life. I know we had Kathy DeRocha here, who was a great ELA coordinator, K through 12. And she had a few great sayings, stuffing 10 pounds of potatoes into a 5-pound bag, or flying building the plane while we're flying it, fire, ready, aim, that kind of thing. And sometimes that happens. So the modern teacher might be a good thing, but keep in mind, teachers can't fit any more PD into their head. Now, there are some populations of our faculty that have a dearth of PD opportunities. Some subjects are overloaded with what they have to learn, and other subjects don't get many opportunities. So maybe this modern teacher module might be something for those segments of the population that don't have much PD right now. Or maybe this modern teacher will help find relevant, meaningful PD for those segments of our teaching population that don't have a lot of offerings. Thank you.
Good evening, Jeremy Langell. I have an incoming first grader at Warwick Neck, and Sophia will eventually be in kindergarten there. That's scary. Anyways, I just wanted to say thank you to our buildings team, Mr. Gothberg, Mr. Oliver. I was just amazed by your presentation. I really appreciate it. If I had useful skills to help you, I wish I could. But I'm very grateful that you're doing that work. And I understand how complicated it is, so thank you for doing that. Mr. Testa mentioned middle school, adolescence and social media, and that's a really scary thing. But frankly, I know a lot of adults who have a problem with social media and seem confused about it as well. So, I think that's kind of a problem across the board. But, and I know you all don't want to die in the ditch of getting rid of that week of winter break in February, but I would be all for that. Anyways. But really what I come to say is thank you. There's an exceptional amount of competency in this room. So it's reassuring. To hear the presentation on the monitoring program. That's not the right word, but the program on, just thank you. I didn't have any concerns about it, but I really appreciated it. For those of us who work from home, and I do a lot of my work from home, if you have a device from your employer, you know what you can and what you can't do. That's just the rules, right? So I think, and that's just a part of learning, right? How to grow up and mature. So again, another opportunity for learning. Thank you. And then also, I just really appreciate how we're focusing on students who need the most support. I'm really grateful and blessed with all the kids in our life who just succeed. That's a blessing. And then I also, at the end of the day, I look and see, how do I judge our success? Well, our success for me is how do we work with the students who need the most amount of help? What are we providing for them? What are we doing for them? And I see a district that's doing that, and I really appreciate that. When I coach soccer, you always get a random group of kids, and 3 or 4 of them are amazing, and everyone else is like me. And so, my job as a coach is basically to say, how did every student grow, right? And that's it. How did they grow? Did they pick less flowers and kick the soccer ball more? That's growth, right? So, and I appreciate, I hear a lot of that here, and again, I'm grateful for that. Finally, lastly, I appreciated, I wasn't here at the last meeting, which doesn't mean anything, I don't need to be here, but I really appreciate the work that you all did, especially with the DEI and getting that process started. That's really important to me, to know that we're a district that does DEI work. I think some of you know I teach philosophy. I'm a philosopher of religion and theology. So, reading diverse views and learning about views that are different than our own is absolutely critical to being a whole person in our world. And so I know that we live in wobbly times where it seems like even that's a controversial thing to say. But it's reassuring to be in a district committed to having difficult conversations and helping students be, people who can do that as well. So thank you, thank you, thank you. My 2 minutes have gone past, so thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Anyone else with public comment? All right. There being no other business for this committee. Future meeting dates. The next monthly school committee is September 12th at 7 p.m. Warwick School Building Committee meeting, September 13th at 7:30 a.m. And the Policy Subcommittee meeting, September 6th, 2023 at 4 p.m. There being no other business for this committee, I seek a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?